apocalyptic ghoul, and in flashbacks, the retro Hollywood cowboy. And next to him is Aaron Moten, who plays the novice Brotherhood of Steel Squire Maximus, who becomes a knight in very modern, shining armor. Welcome, guys.
It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us so much.
Aaron, I wanted to start with you and we started with Geneva asking her origin story as a writer. How did you get into this world of acting? I know people probably know you from a lot of different things, The Night of, Next, Emancipation, but when did the dream of becoming an actor begin for you?
Well, I was born in Austin, Texas, and thanks. We got it. My father was a municipal court judge and a lawyer, and my mother is a court stenographer, and maybe acting was my rebellion from all of that, you know? I actually, got excited at the idea of going to college for acting because no one else in my family did it. I had no sense of confidence in being able to do the thing myself. So I got accepted to Juilliard in New York, and I went there. I stayed. I did plays. I moved to LA because my wife actually pulled me to LA. I think I was always just trying to be a stage actor, and then my life turned around whenever I moved out to Los Angeles. I got really interested in cameras, and film became a real passion of mine.
Were you already a working actor at that point when you came out to LA, like getting regular roles, or was it like I gotta find something to make a living at while I go to auditions and do the thing that sort of almost every actor goes through?
Yeah, the thing every actor, I've never worked a normal job, actually. It's been strange, but I've always been able to find little pieces of things here and there as an actor, and it came with a lot of suffering because I was barely paying for my shoebox in the sky, but it always seemed to work out. I gained this sort of edge of always wanting to make it work, solving the problem, once I had it. So I wish that I would have been hired at the restaurants that I applied for. I didn't get hired, but I was always able to find a way to make it work.
Walton, I'm going to ask him to tell his story, but I already know it because we did a piece for Vanity Fair and a Q&A with him, and we talked about your early years in Los Angeles and making the ends meet while you pursued this dream of being an actor. What was it like for you stepping into LA, moving here from Georgia? I think you were 19 at the time.
Yeah, I was 19 years old. It's a very circuitous route to Los Angeles and had something to do with American Express, but that's a very, very different story. But yeah, I got here after my first 24 hours in Los Angeles was a comedy, really, and I had to leave this person's house first thing in the morning. It's a long story too, but wound up living at Oxnard and Ventura because I had this guy's beeper number and gave him a call, and he said, "Sure, man, I can come pick you up in my MR2." And my first job, because I moved to LA with $300 in my pocket, right? I was 19 years old. And
doesn't go very far.
Doesn't go very far. I mean, it went a little further in 1991 than it does today, right? And LA is, the thing I love about the city is you can wear flip-flops into a 5-star restaurant.
And 91 or 91?
And 91. Yeah. 91, right? And 50-cent tacos. But I got a job at LA Fitness, working from 5 in the morning until 9 in the morning. It's all I would get, and it was minimum wage, $4.50 an hour. And did that for like a month, then talked them into, I said, I need more money. I still wanted my freedom, right, for class and all the rest of it. Talked them into hiring me as a part-time salesperson. Within a month, I became like one of the top part-time salespeople in their business, in their company.
Were you the person calling us and asking us if we'd join the gym?
No, yes, I did that. Cold calling was a part of it. And then also taking people on tours, right, all the rest of it. And then I I just decided I need more time, you know, for class. I couldn't even enroll in class because I didn't have the money. But so then I just walked down Ventura Boulevard, because I used to valet park when my 1 year in college in summer, and I just started walking down Ventura Boulevard and started knocking on restaurant doors and walking in, and I said, "Hello, my name is Walton Goggins. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I would like to be your valet parker." And they said, "Well, we have a valet parker." I said, "I know, but you don't have Walton Goggins as your valet parker." And then they said, "Do you have insurance?" And I said, "Yes, of course I do." And before you knew it, like within a 2 or 3 week period, I had 7 restaurants: the Moonlight Tango Cafe, the Great Greek, which is still there now, Cha 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 out in Encino, Cafe Athens down in Santa Monica, and a few parking lots. We didn't make a lot of money, but what we did do, me and a couple of my friends came along, is we employed a bunch of actors, and everybody had their freedom, right? You had money, cash in your pocket every single night, and that allowed me to begin going to class. And I found a great teacher, and I did that for a couple of years, and then I sold cowboy boots after that at Thieves Market for a little bit, you know. And I also worked, just really quickly, since you asked, and I didn't tell you about this. There was also this like a job where you could, you know, show up and kind of dance like for people or something like that. Oh. But I did it for it was dancing. Like a telegram thing. I couldn't sing, so they didn't hire me for that. But what I did do is there was this company that said, well, there are these parties that you can go to, because the Western thing was a big deal in Los Angeles at the time. And I just went two-stepping with, like, for women's birthday parties or for men and women's birthday parties, and I would be there and kind of two-step with them. I did that, and then the last thing, this is the best thing. This is the last job I had before I quit after doing The Apostle. And that is, I went back to LA Fitness with 2 other friends, and I said, we want to pay you to let us bring clients to your gym to train them, right? They said, well, I'm sorry, what, you want to pay us? You're going to pay us $500 a month to bring new clients into our gym and train them? We said, yes. Me and my 2 friends, a guy named Daniel Markle, who's an actor back in the day, and another guy named Gordon, were the first personal trainers in LA Fitness, the place where I started. And then I had my freedom. I had my real freedom.
Yeah. The journey of an actor.
I would like to see that TV series.
Yeah, you know,
Walton Goggins, the early years.
19 years old, I don't know. I don't know if I could get away with that now, but
they did so much shooting for The Shield on the streets of LA and in Los Feliz and all that. When I was talking to Walton, he was saying, you know, he'll drive around town with his wife and be like, yeah, that's where I used to park cars, that's where my key box was, and that's where we killed this guy, and this is where we framed him for drugs. It's quite a memory lane in Los Angeles now.
Hopefully that was blurring the reality
Yes,
and
blurring the
shooting.
fictional.
No actual killing.
no, that was all residuals. That's residual-based shooting. All residuals.
Aaron, I wanted to ask you, Maximus wears an amazing suit of armor. You know, we see a lot of close-ups of you in there, but I'm curious what that was like. I mean, was that a real suit? Did you actually have to get into that every day? What?
Yes, I mean, the suit is very real. The Pit Boys are very practical. I mean, everything is built out. I wear the top half of that suit with a motorized helmet. It's about 50 or 60 pounds. It's excruciating. It's not comfortable. But, you know, as Walton and I are very similar, we don't like to complain about anything. You know what I mean? We get put in a situation and it's really... becomes the challenge. So it was a stamina that had to be developed to withhold that. Because after, you know, 20 minutes of wearing that thing, you're like, did we get the scene yet? You know, can we stop?
Are there any do's and don'ts where they're like, don't put your head here or don't move it?
Do's and don'ts. Don't break it. Don't break it. No.
Don't break it. Just please don't break it.
It costs a lot of money. Please don't break this. No, I think I made my own list of do's and don'ts. It starts with don't dance for the crew in the suit when you first put it on, because you won't make it through the 10-hour shoot day. Yeah.
That's what they ask you to do? The crew's like, dance.
You got the suit on, now move, boogie. No, not doing that.
And when you're shooting scenes, are other are the other actors in the scene kind of standing there with you? Or are you doing it face to face?
For the most part, yes. When I'm shooting the inside the helmet stuff, we are in a black room with absolutely nothing there, which is extremely difficult, but we're always using what we shot on the day as a reference point to recreate it inside the helmet. So it's like working off of memory constantly and getting those eye lines correct. But yeah, a simple apple box, and I'm good.
Black box acting. Like, that's what it is. Every college theater group does it.
Yeah, I'm sure the minute you get that suit off, you're happy. You know?
Oh, goodness. I could go dunk a basketball. I'm so much lighter.
And I mean, Walton, you know, you can laugh, but you also had some pretty intense makeup as the ghoul. I imagine that was hours in the makeup chair every day.
Yeah. I needed a facial for sure. No, it was the first time that we did it during the makeup test. It took about 5 hours to get it on, and we did 3 applications before we settled on this is the look. This is what we're going to go with, and it was, I felt pretty confident with it until the very first day of filming started, and I put it on, and I'd never had the makeup on with the costume that Amy Westcott designed, with everything on all at once. It was really the first time that I'd given everything a real run. This is it, and we're walking to set. And then the peripheral vision kind of goes out. It's like, oh, wow, I don't really understand what's happening right now. And the one piece of the puzzle that cost less than anything else that I didn't realize was going to affect my experience was the 2 retainers I had to put in my mouth, right? I mean, you got to hide teeth when they're this white. And that didn't work in the wasteland. And so I put those in, and then we started going, and it happened to be 106 degrees, hitting the heat index in New York that day. And like Aaron, like everybody had, I sat down and said, I don't know if I can do this really privately. I said that, and but like everything else, you just put one foot in front of the other, and if you get one day in the can, chances are you're going to get another, and just keep going.
Jonah Nolan told me that he saw you on set. I guess maybe it was that day, the really hot day, and he's like, I noticed Walton getting all emotional, like before he goes out in front of the camera, like tears are coming down his face. And then I said, you okay? And he said, I'm just sweating. Sweat pouring out of your eye.
Yeah, it's just sweat coming out of my eyeballs. You're just like, I said, no, what are you talking about? I'm not crying. What do you mean? And he just touched my eyes, and then water just came coming out. Yeah, it's crazy.
So you heard Geneva talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly aspect of these 3 primary characters on the show. Was there much discussion about that, or is it just sort of an intuitive thing that you latched onto? That the ghoul is this creature devoid of humanity. Of course, we see the other side of that with his flashbacks as Cooper Howard. And Aaron, do you see Maximus as the bad? He's certainly not an evil guy, but he struggles, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big conversation. I think, at least for me, it was. I felt like what was really challenging for Maximus was that tightrope. We really wanted to craft a character that was unique in that he's heroic, but not a stoic hero. He's just as afraid of, the danger as he is bravely going into it. He's dancing the tightrope in a way where we wanted to give an audience a chance to know that it could go any direction at any sort of moment with Maximus. I know certainly in our interrogation scene there's a lot of that. As we build the world of that character, it's at a certain point we're seeing the character make these choices in real time as to, whether he's going to bend towards one direction or the other. And yeah, so it was a big conversation for me. I don't think that, did you feel like that good, bad, ugly was a big conversation for you? Was it?
It wasn't a big conversation, but I've watched that movie 10 times, and it certainly was a part of my process. And I did think about the way that the story itself was set up. It was similar, kind of in that way, and in some ways, the ghoul is like Tuco. In some ways, he's like Lee Van Cleef, and in some ways, Ella's like Clint. but all of those roles change, throughout the season. And depending on where you stand and from your point of view, morally speaking, right? A morality of convenience versus a morality that reflects the reality of life on the surface. Well, I don't know. Is the bad Lucy, or what? How do you measure that? What's the metric system in which you're using those labels for the people in the show? And so, yeah, that was a part of it. It was a great reference for it, and I think for writing the story for Geneva and Graham, it was a great template in order to write the story.
It seems like it gives you 3 archetypes that these characters can kind of move around in, and it's a sliding scale, good, bad, and ugly.
Well, and I think if you watch the whole season, it's a sliding scale generally. I mean, what is true is shifting, and I assume we'll learn more in season.
Just hypothetically speaking, just to ask you two, I never really thought about it in this way, but if you look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, they're all looking for money, right? They're looking for the gold, and it's No Name. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm so sorry. Shame on you. But they're looking for the money. So then, what are we looking for here? And I really I've been thinking about it over the last week or so, having all of these conversations, and I wonder if the treasure is truth. Yeah. Really, that's what Lucy, that's what she comes to find out, that's what Cooper Howard comes to find out, that's what the ghoul has already been exposed to, and in some ways that's what Aaron finds out about, Maximus, about the loss of his parents.
Yeah.
Right?
In his whole life, he finally gets a face to what he's been fighting, and he gets knocked out unconscious.
Yeah, and all 3 people are in the same room at a little different times. Again, if we're spoiling it, shame on you.
It's true, they all have various MacGuffins. There's the head they're all chasing or trying to get her father, but the truth, sanctuary, safety is another thing they're all seeking. But truth can be, you think the truth will set you free, that it will protect you, and it actually might end up blowing you apart if you find out things you don't really want to know.
Right, and the worst thing that could happen has already happened to all of them. The world.
It's still get pretty bad for us.
It's true. They could get knocked around a little bit.
Joy, don't jinx us. Things can always get worse.
Yeah, I'm glad you still have your nose. I think about that, and
Not as much as my wife. My wife is so happy I have my nose. I'm happy that I have it too. It was shocking seeing it for the first time. All of the people on this show, so many.
The one guy who has 2 noses. So
that's exactly right. But all the crafts people, the heads of all of these departments and all the crafts people kind of behind the scenes, the specificity that they put into all of these scenes and the work that they did on the nose and everybody else is just spectacular, really.
Well, also just like these tiny little scenes and characters that you come across, they're just in the background and they're sort of magnificent. You obviously are doing kind of dual characters in this show, and I wondered how you filmed that. Was it kind of alternating, or did you do sort of, the Cooper first and then the ghoul?
I wish that I had that opportunity. We didn't. No, we started with the ghoul, and then we just went back and forth. Constantly, really. And so it was like, okay, just depending, it was all location dependent. And the same way, whether if Aaron was in the suit for multiple days in a row or just like kind of on your own.
To give me a break.
Yeah, to give you a break, yeah. And in hindsight, I understand why they did it, and I'm glad that they did it, because my skin couldn't have taken the application. Literally, it just couldn't have taken the application for more than like 3 or 4 days, 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row. But in tandem with that decision, it was also really refreshing to me to go from one to the other, and then the blocks that I had with Cooper were just a much more linear kind of experience, a linear story, and I liked being a 1950s Western movie star, and being in that world that was really elegant and sophisticated, and the production design, and it was lovely. It was lovely being both of them.
I wanted to ask you about some of the scenes that were shot overseas in Namibia. We were both shooting there, and for those who've seen the show, this is what I was alluding to earlier when I said some of the apocalyptic scenery is real. There's a real town there in Namibia that's now abandoned, and just the sandstorms have filled the homes with dunes and covered up other things. It really does look like life after people there. What was your experience like shooting in these locations? Most of us will never get to go there, probably for good reason. It probably wouldn't be allowed to do once you are there, but it seems like really interesting. Are there artifacts of the lives and communities that used to exist there?
I mean, it's a whole town, a whole World War I German mining town. You know, a diamond mine is what is there, and it was upon leaving, it was bombed.
They burned everything down because the British were coming in after them.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as an actor, you know, Howard Cummings and his team are also putting details to the set, you know, as they can. But what was it, that large, wide, arcing shot, the drone shot that's, you know, Lucy's character emerging from the ball for the first time is, you know, the only thing added is the little Ferris wheel to make it Santa Monica Pier. Everything is exactly how the skeleton coast of Namibia looks. That is it. So yeah, to be put into the worlds like that as an actor, it really does a lot, I think. For one, a crew, all of us, it puts us on our toes a little bit. I'm hearing stories about, did you hear about the man chicken who was going down into the hyena dens to make sure there were no hyenas on sets? Yeah.
What is this?
Yes, this amazing Namibian man is crawling into the hyenas dens to make sure there are no hyenas present when we're trying to shoot at a certain location.
It seems like a job for like AI or a drone or something. You have to send
It's in the
it's like,
robot
how do you
now.
know if there are hyenas in there? He doesn't come.
Well,
back.
they're not. No. They're thankfully they're nocturnal.
Okay.
You know what I mean. So they would be sleeping during the morning or daytime.
He goes in very quietly.
Very quiet. Very quiet.
They could wake up in a bad mood. They could. Yeah, it was. You know, the thing about these two different places is, one was a diamond mine that was burned. The other one with the big, large, kind of cylindrical things that you were referring to was another diamond mine. Then they found more diamonds. The one piece of, not advice, but the one restriction they gave everyone when they walked in there is don't take any diamonds. Because it's still, like, it's not an active diamond mine, but it is an active diamond mine, and they are there. And it was so interesting to watch the crew and everyone just looking around on the desert floor the whole time, just
Who's gonna
digging
care?
one little small thing right over here.
They like weigh your pockets as you leave. You know.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they didn't do that, but everybody was very mindful about, you can't, like, sit down and look through the dirt or anything like that.
What happens? Who comes after you if you do? Like, if it's abandoned?
Well, I mean, there's security. It's not abandoned. It is a protected site with security guards, and there's one road coming in and one road going out, and they still had every, security there. For me, what was surprising, I didn't realize what the climate was going to be like for the ghoul, and it turned out to be the most comfortable I was in 9 months. It was because it was cold.
It was the winter there.
Yeah, and their winter, and I was like, yeah, I could be out here all day.
Yeah, I was thinking that you both have so many gory, grotesque scenes, and you get splattered by pink vomit and all of that. Like, what was the ickiest scene for you guys to do?
The ickiest. I mean, there's so many icky things. I've always loved the moment of Lucy and Maximus coming together for the first time, and they're holding the heads. It's really gross, but it's an amazing thing that our show's always doing, talking about two things at one sort of moment like that, But it's grotesque also for such an amazing reason in our show, because it gives the real consequences. It's showing you real consequences with some of the, juxtaposed against some of the silly comedy that's happening at the same time, But it's got a real weight to it in our show, and it's purposeful.
It's stylized violence, right? And it is, in the tonality of the comedy that is inherent kind of in the game. I think for me, eating ass jerky was probably the day that I wasn't looking forward to.
Keep that in mind for the performance.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we are officially out of time. Sadly, there's a lot more we could talk about and go on. But thank you, Aaron Moten and Walton Goggins, for being here with us today. Enthusiastic audience. This has been Little Gold Men from Vanity Fair. I'm Anthony Bresnikan with Joy Press. Our editor and producer is Brett Fuchs. Richard Lawson and David Canfield will be back in your feeds next week.